Welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us for today's talk. My name is Dagmar Kern and I will provide some insight into the information seeking process of social scientists. I structured this talk along a couple of questions. So first of all, we will have a look at the definition. What is information seeking behavior? And then I will explain why it is important to understand it. There are a couple of research methods that we can use to study information seeking behavior, and I will give an overview of the most important ones. The next question deals with what to do with all the insights of our research, and last but not least, we will have a look into the future of information seeking behavior. Okay, so let's start with the first question. What is information seeking behavior? So please take a moment and think about the last time you used Google or another search engine to find information. Perhaps you typed in a search term, opened a few search results, skimmed or read a few paragraphs to extract information. Maybe you saved a couple of documents, opened pieces of information, compared pieces of information, and formed an opinion on the information you received. All of this can be considered part of an information seeking process and reflects your individual information seeking behavior. It, of course, may differ from others. So we often think that others behave in a similar way to us, but having conducted a couple of user studies and observed people while searching for information, I can assure you that this is not the case. So some parts might be similar, but others are completely different. To make it a little bit more formal, you see here one of many similar but also slightly different definitions. This definition was formulated by Kuhlthal more than 30 years ago and underlines that information seeking is not a phenomenon of the digital age. So Kuhlthal defines the information seeking as follows. So the user's constructive activity of finding meaning from information in order to extend his or her state of knowledge on a particular problem or topic. It highlights that the user is the key player in this process and that the overall goal is to learn something new. In line with this is the information seeking model from David Ellis, which was also introduced before the internet was commonly used. So for us, it is extremely interesting since it's based on insights from user studies with social science researchers. The model consists of 6 different features or stages. So starting is the first stage where the information seekers identify a source of information that is likely to be useful for their research topic or their question at hand. That can be a person, a database, or a specific book or journal. The 3 steps in the middle relate to the actual gathering process. Browsing refers to scanning shelves with books, using tables of contents or abstract to find relevant information or to get an overview of their topic. While chaining, the information seekers follow the references or citations from the found source. Monitoring is the stage where the information seekers keep track of the developments and updates in their topic by using tools such as alerts or newsletters. After that, the differentiation step follows, in which the information seekers filter and select the most useful sources for their topic based on criteria such as subject, quality, author, or date. In the last stage, the information seekers extract relevant information from their selected sources. But with the introduction of the internet, the ability to find or obtain information has changed dramatically. The use of a search engine has become an integral part of our life. So even small children tell their parents to use Google. if they don't know the answer to a question. And for us as researchers, there are special tools available to assist us in our research activities. So we can use digital libraries to find publications, or we can search for research data in a data set repository. For reuse them. Or we can simply use a web search engine to guide us to the sources we need. In light of this development, a revision of Alice's information-seeking behavior model was necessary. Meo and Thibault did so in 2003, and they extended Alice's model by adding additional features to the 6 initial stages and grouped all the features into 4 interrelated stages, namely searching, processing, accessing, and ending. The aim of this model is to capture the complexity and the diversity of the information-seeking behavior in the digital age. I won't go into much detail here. Instead, I refer to the paper by Meo and Thibault for more information. Instead, I want to clarify some terms here. So you may have come across the term information retrieval before. So I thought it makes sense to have a look at the differences. So information retrieval can be seen as the technical part of the information seeking process. Traditionally, information retrieval tools have been designed for information retrieval professionals to enable them to retrieve information from a source in a very effective and efficient manner. But the assumption was that the information exists in the source and that a well-formed query will retrieve it and nothing else. However, with the introduction of the internet, this view has changed. So the target group is completely different now and definitely more diverse. So everyone can now use a search engine to find information, and it is often uncertain where the information can be found or if it even exists. The point I want to make here is that information seeking is more than just retrieving information. For most, it's focused on the humans and not only on the technology. Okay, let's come to the next question. Why is it important to understand the information-seeking behavior? And the short answer is to make our users happy. So a good understanding of information-seeking behavior helps us to develop effective strategies to facilitate information retrieval systems, to provide tailored information services, and to enhance user experience. Here at GESIS, we offer several digital services that support social scientists in their research work, and the system that supports them in finding information in the whole GESIS universe is the GESIS Search. So GESIS Search is an integrated search engine that enables users to search for different kinds of information like publications, research data, or variables. And in the Meet the Expert episode in March, my colleague Daniel Hienert will tell you more about the GESIS Search. So don't miss that talk. You will learn a lot about how to find information at GESIS using the GESIS Search. So for the initial development, as well as for the further development of the GESIS Search, we follow a user-centered design approach. And this approach describes how users can be involved in the design process. It consists of different steps in an iterative way. And the first step is titled with Understand and Specify the Context of Use. And this is exactly the step where understanding the information-seeking behavior should take place. So once you understand who your users are, how they work, and what their needs are, you can specify the requirements and develop design solutions that meet these requirements. After the design solutions have been created, they are evaluated with users. And you can imagine that a new product or service can lead to a new information-seeking behavior, which of course needs to be taken into account in further developments. And so the cycle starts all over again. Okay, so understanding information-seeking behavior is important to make our users happy, but how can we do this? How can we research information-seeking behavior? There are a couple of different methods. Some of those are an integral part of our method toolbox here at GESIS, and I will shortly introduce the different methods and provide some insight from previous studies we conducted here at GESIS. So let's start with a rather uncommon but very effective method, which is called diary study. In a diary study, the participants are asked to write down all their activities, in our case, of course, in the context of information seeking, in a diary. They do this over a certain period of time and can then be interviewed about their notes and about their experiences. A few years ago, we conducted such a study at GESIS. So we asked 12 German social science researchers to first write down their information needs when they came across them, and then provide more details on how they fulfilled their needs. So altogether, we collected 54 individual statements and process descriptions. So one participant, for example, searched for a publication that was presented at a conference the previous week, or another one was looking for a particular function in Stata to use that for data analysis. And some of the information needs could be met by just asking a colleague, and others required an extensive search on the internet. The main outcome of this study was the identification of different categories that belong to the information-seeking processes. And that structure, or that helped us to structure the different information needs. So we grouped the collected needs and developed labels for the categories, such as literature, research data, variables in research data, and so on. So the information needs in the category literature, for example, so one of those were that the search for a publication, so the search for a publication of a specific author or to a specific topic, and also the search for a review paper or a full text was a common need. So the research or the reuse of data sets was frequently mentioned in the category research data. And the search for mapping data or the classification of answers to open questions falls into the category of support data analysis. So the outcome of this study helped us also to generate new use cases for the development of the GESIS search. But the results also helped us to construct an online questionnaire that should support the collected needs from the diary study. So I guess I don't have to introduce the method questionnaire here, since most of you are very well familiar with that. So we use this method in the context of information seeking to ask people about their information needs, their preferences, challenges, habits, when looking for social science information. Usually we use a mixture of open and closed questions. So closed questions are usually asked to quantify the relevance of specific aspects or information needs. And the open questions are to find out more about individual characteristics. Both approaches help us to identify aspects which are so far not very well covered in our digital offers, and to derive requirements for new features or services. An online questionnaire based on our findings from the diary study that was completed by 337 German social scientists. And first they had to tick 9 statements to see if they correspond to their information or to their own information needs. And these statements serve 2 purposes. So firstly, to gather quantitative numbers to verify these needs. And secondly, they served as examples for information needs they were asked about in the second task, in which they should write about an actual information need they had the previous week. So in total, we collected 331 information needs. And here you can see the 9 statements we used in the first question. And the results confirmed our assumption that most of them indeed reflect common information needs of social scientists. So, for example, 86% tick the information need finding literature on a specific topic. Downloading full text is also very common, ticked by 85%. Finding national and international research data is important for 65% of our participants. Yeah, while finding cooperation partners seems to be rather rare and was only selected by 18%. And yeah, these results from the first task as well as the results from the second task helped us to decide which categories should be covered in the GESIS search application. And here you can see the relationship between the results of the study and the categories we have currently in the GESIS search. While some categories have their own section in the GESIS search, others are still distributed across different sections, so due to historical or organizational reasons. And the personal information needs we collected in the second task also helped us to formulate concrete use cases that cover not just one category, but several. So, for example, some people ask to find publication to a data set or a data set that was mentioned in a publication. So this reflects that the information needs are not only, category-wise or regarding one category, so that there's an interlinking between the information in the different categories. So one technical approach to learn something about information seeking is analyzing log files of a search system. So of course, this requires that the interaction behavior is logged accordingly and that you have access to this data. Yeah, fortunately with the GESIS search, we have such a system, so we can do log file analysis. And the diagram here illustrates the first 8 user interactions that users perform when they start working with the GESIS search. So as you can see here, the session typically starts with entering a search query, shown here in green, followed by reviewing detailed records of a result or a reformulation or a filter action and so on. And these types of analysis can help us to identify, for example, exit points or other problems that our users encounter. But log files can't tell us anything about the reasons for these problems. And for that, we need to involve our users and ask them in interviews, for example, what were the problems? What are the reasons why you exit the system? And interviews are an effective method for learning more. Yeah, in our case, of course, about information seeking behavior of individual users. So, but since most people have a hard time remembering previous behavior, so interviews are often combined with observations. And this is the last method I have on my list for today. So in an observational study, users are observed in their usual work or while solving a specific problem or task. In the best case, they work in their usual environment with their own laptop or computer with all the necessary programs. And the study leader who observed the participants write down notes and questions to discuss them in an interview afterwards. Sometimes or the entire session is recorded and watched together with the participant during the interview, and this helps them to remember what they did and where the problems or challenges arose. Yeah, we did such a study, so that 12 social scientists were involved in that study, and they were looking for data sets. So the focus was on data set search and not on the whole information seeking process. We visited them in their offices and recorded the entire session. We transcribed the session as well as the interviews and analyzed the results. And from this study, we derived 7 key findings. So first, literature is an important part of dataset search. People find dataset for reuse through publications in which they were mentioned. The second and the third findings are linked to the tools available. So many participants wished for more support during the search process. However, existing tools were not known, so none of those know anything about the Google dataset search. And other tools, such as Google Scholar, were used to find research data. So this is in line with the first finding. So Google Scholar was the most popular entry point we observed in the study. Keep in mind, the task was to find dataset and not publications. So furthermore, the assessing relevance is very complicated, as dataset often come with many additional materials such as documentation, questionnaires, codebooks, metadata, and so on. So deciding on relevance takes time. And not all of the datasets are freely available, and sometimes it's unclear how to obtain them. So that's a problem they faced during their sessions. And the lack of linkage between data sets is another issue. So related data sets are often distributed across different servers, and they are not linked to each other. So it makes it hard to find similar data sets. And the last finding summarized the observation that researchers are very good in finding publications, but the ability to search for data set is relatively low. And I guess it would definitely be beneficial if this were more taught more often at the university. So if you would like to find out more about dataset search, we will have another Meet the Expert talk by Brigitte Mattiak. That will be in February. And the focus of this talk will be dataset search. So now it's time to answer the question, why are we doing all this? So what do we do with all these insights? Since I have already spoiled a little bit, the answer might not be so surprising anymore. So we use the finding to develop further and improve the GESIS search and other digital services at GESIS. I would like to highlight one special feature of the GESIS search here. So where possible, we link entries from different categories with each other. So you can see directly that these data sets here or data records here are linked to publication. They are shown in yellow, and to variables shown in red. So, and in this way, we address the need for links between different types of information. So another advert. So we have another talk in April, and this talk will be about knowledge graphs and all the links between the information, including the ones I've just mentioned, are stored in a knowledge graph. And you can find out about this in the talk in April. So we are almost at the end of my presentation for today. And as I promised, I would like to take a look into the future. So I will therefore conclude my presentation with the question, will the information-seeking behavior change? And I'm pretty sure it will change. So mainly because of the fantastic possibilities offered by ChatGPT and other large language models. So yeah, imagine how nice it would be to talk to a digital advisor and ask for help, just like you would do it with a friend or a colleague. So if we could express our information needs in natural language and even in a human-like conversation, our information-seeking behavior will undoubtedly change. Yeah, but we are prepared for that. So we have already started research in this direction by analyzing how people would ask for information if they were not restricted by the possibilities of a digital system. So what we did, we set up an online study, also in the context of dataset search, and we let participants describe their information needs in natural language, as they would do when they would ask a colleague for help. And yeah, among other things, so we analyzed the data regarding which aspects were mentioned, which aspects were precise and can be mapped directly to available data, metadata, and which aspects were rather described with vague terms and would need more conversation for clarification. Yeah, and based on this insight, we are currently exploring what the prompt for ChatGPT, for example, must look like to find the right and relevant information. And yeah, but also from the other side, which information has to be extracted from the given information or material, what we have for the data set to answer specific questions. I have two examples here from the information needs we collected. So the first person is looking for representative surveys on attitudes toward democratic principles. And the second person is interested in the consequences of the corona crisis for older workers. So both information needs have yet to be mapped to the search queries by the users themselves. Yeah, but probably the term older workers is something that is not mentioned in a dataset description in this way, so it might be difficult to be found. So our goal is to provide a support system in the future that allows people to formulate their information needs in natural language, that resolves ambiguities, helps to clarify vague information, and suggests data sets to the user in the end. Yeah, and if you feel now that it might be interesting to be part of this new research direction, so drop me an email and I will put you on the list of participants for future user studies. And yeah, with your participation, you can help us to develop systems that meet your needs. To summarize the talk, I formulate a takeaway message. So information-seeking behavior is about people and the processes they use when seeking information. There are research methods helping us to understand the processes and in order to provide support systems that are a pleasure to use. But we have always have to keep in mind that people, behaviors, process, systems, and information involved are constantly changing and adapting to new circumstances, new situations, new technologies. But one thing that remains the same is we always want information to make sense of the world. Okay, so this is the end of my talk. And if you want to discuss something further, so you can just ask later in the Q&A session, or you can send me an email and I'm happy to answer it. And there are a couple of other talks coming. So this is the overview of the upcoming talks. You can also find information about that on the internet. Thanks for your participation, and now I'm happy to take your questions.